Hey, welcome back, everyone. It's Stephen Austin coming to you live with our post-game analysis of the Houston Texans and the Minnesota Vikings. Austin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. It was fun to see some football finally.
Yes, absolutely. And we couldn't do this and bring you our post game without our sponsors. So our sponsors up top, that's Badass Wood Art. Please use our VC15 code to receive 15% off. And of course, Homage. We have our link up top. Please use that code or please use that link so you can make sure that you get a discount also to help support us here at Viking Central as well. So we're going to dig into a lot of different topics here with the game today. Obviously, the biggest thing that we wanted to see was JJ McCarthy, and to see his progress. So as far as JJ McCarthy goes, he only got one series. He had 12 snaps and he threw for 407 for 30 yards. So if we had to take a look at JJ McCarthy's performance and give it a letter grade, where are you with that, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, JJ McCarthy didn't light anything up, do fantastic, but I was really happy just to see how poised he was in the pocket. I was talking with Brett this about the other day. My biggest part, what I wanted to see from him was to see some poise in the pocket, be able to stand in there and evade pressure and look comfortable. And he didn't turn the ball over, obviously. And that one pass he made to Addison, that 15-yard completion to Addison, that was incredible. He had good anticipation there, getting Addison open, putting the ball where only he could put it. So I think I liked what I saw from McCarthy today, and I'm hoping he can build on this in the future.
So the only thing I didn't like, if I have to be critical, and again, he completed four passes, 4 of 7 for 30 yards. I did see some passes where, and I want to say that out route that he threw that was a little bit behind. That's a ball that,
Yeah, the first
again,
completion.
yeah, you throw that off, and it was kind of the back of his heel when he threw that pass out there, and it was caught back like this by the receiver. But again, if that cornerback's on him, that's potentially a pick or a pick six if that corner is really,
Yeah.
right on him. So, I mean, that's the only criticism I'll say is, he had a couple passes where he'd roll out and then it, kind of almost like that little jump pass that he throws where he's throwing off of his back leg. And yes, he's got the arm power to be able to do it. It's just accuracy when he's throwing off just that back leg instead of stepping into his throw is what I think is maybe part of some of those accuracy issues.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, he looked confident in the pocket. He looked confident even with his throws. Just that's what I would like to see now, even with
Yeah.
practices with the Patriots and then going into preseason game number 2 is step into some of those throws instead of, just relying on maybe a back foot throw on that.
No, for sure. And I contribute a lot of that just by him only having to play one series. He didn't really catch a full rhythm. I hope against the Patriots that they give him a full quarter at least, so he can at least catch a rhythm and be able
Yeah.
to feel what he's doing. I feel like right when at the end of that drive, he was getting hot and he was starting to make plays. And I
Hmm.
think if they would have put him out there for a second series, I think he would have looked a lot better. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. And that one out route that you talked about, that's not safe for the receiver to get hit like that going back to the ball either. And I mean, if he puts that ball where he's supposed to, he catches that and goes out of bounds, and his receiver doesn't get hurt. Luckily, luckily no one got hurt on the play, obviously. But yeah, no, yeah, I like I said, my biggest thing looking into this was to see his poise in the pocket and if he was how he's going to evade pressure with Aerosol not playing, and I think he did that very well, and I'm excited. He looks like he has all the pizzazz. He did good. He had that 3rd and 7. He rushed to get the first down. That's the type of stuff that we haven't seen a quarterback do in a Vikings uniform for a long time, and I'm just hoping that he can build on that and get better going forward.
And when we talk about like that one series that the offense played, we got to see 4 out of the 5 starting offensive linemen on the field. And I do think that they held a pretty good pocket for JJ. And at the same time, that pocket that they held for JJ gave him, and he had some rollouts as well, but they gave him a pretty clean pocket for the most part. And the running game, I thought that was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Jordan Mason had some runs where he was already 3-4 yards into the defensive line before he was getting touched. So I think that looked good as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then, if we just start to get into some of the receivers, we saw it all training camp so far this preseason, but Jordan Addison showing up. You saw that initial chemistry and that
Yeah.
want to go to Jordan Addison. Now, Justin Jefferson's not on the field and he's hurt, but at least the chemistry with Jordan Addison, I think that's undeniable, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. Those first couple of passes going there, and then I brought it up that one earlier. It almost looked like JJ had like anticipation of what Addison was going to do when he put that ball where only he could get it. And yeah, that obviously Jefferson's not on the field, so we have to keep that with some consideration. But I really like that JJ McCarthy has someone that he's comfortable with right off the bat. That's a big part of it. And usually rookie quarterbacks like to stick with a guy, but with that being said, hopefully that guy isn't Addison because he won't be there for the first 3 weeks of the regular season. But it is good to see him gain chemistry with someone on our receiving core for sure. And
Definitely.
I was curious about like those borderline third wide receiver guys. What you thought about Lucky? I thought he had a very good. Oh, there we go. That's a good transition. There we go. Yeah, I think
You read my
I
mind.
thought Lucky Jackson and Ty Felton looked good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was curious to think what you thought about the two of them because I liked how they both were playing.
I mean, I think late this training camp, Lucky has really established himself as the
Yeah,
lead wide receiver five, I would say. I mean, you can call him wide receiver four. Um, if Ty Feldon hasn't really proven to be the wide receiver four, but if we have to talk about four wide receivers we know are making the team, we know Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, and Ty Feldon are making the team. So if we have to talk about that
yeah,
fifth receiver, yeah, I think right now it's Lucky Jackson, but he's actually probably
yeah.
on the depth chart. He's probably the wide receiver four.
No, for sure. And it's Ty Felton. I liked what I saw from him. He was very good at Maryland, and he had
Mhm.
that one good completion, that out route on outside by the sidelines. I really liked. We didn't see him in the red zone, but like the broadcast was talking about at Maryland, he was a red zone threat. He caught a lot of touchdowns, and I could see that with how he went up for that ball that he's going to be really good for the Vikings in the future in the red zone. Lucky Jackson, I really like how he runs his routes, and he even has a really good like second, third step and being able to like deke out the cornerback a little bit. I kind of like his elusiveness. It's like you said though, it kind of looks like he's probably going to be our fifth receiver and fourth the first 3 games.
Absolutely. And Ty Feldon, he's got that shiftiness to him. If
Yeah,
Justin Jefferson takes him under his wing, and can kind of work with him on some of those route running ability type things that Justin's great at. Maybe Ty Felton, with his shiftiness and his agility, really turns that into something that's a big strength in his game. So I think that's great. But we still have one more wide receiver slot, because I really think that we keep six with Justin Jefferson having some injury concerns, at least with the hamstring. He's not back on the field yet. He should be back for week one, but still, it's
yeah,
something to look at. And with Jordan Addison missing the first 3 games, I think at least initially on the 53-man roster, there's at least six wide receivers. We couldn't stay away from the injury bug, and you saw Rondale
no,
Moore have an injury with his leg. I haven't seen an update quite yet on it. I don't know if you did yet, Austin, but we don't know what the prognosis is yet on his injury. I hope he's okay. But Rondale Moore was maybe that guy that was fighting with that spot, but it could be Thayer Thomas that's in line for that. And there's also Silas Bolden. And between Rondale Moore and Silas Bolden, they were both also kick returners for us as well. So they were vying for that, but maybe it's a Thayer Thomas type situation to where maybe Ty Felton's doing more of that returning. We did see Ty Felton do some work in the
Mhm.
return game today as well. So, what are your thoughts on that sixth receiver and maybe who's in the lead for you at this point?
Um, I, I like Bolden from the guys on our roster. I really like him, but I truly do think that there's going to be a move. But Bolden did some good things today. And it's like you said, someone's gonna have to fill in. Rondell Moore was on our first depth charts as the returner, so we're gonna have to bring someone in and have someone else be there. So I think that'd be a good fit for him. But it's like I said, I really think that we're gonna have a veteran wide receiver come in on the latter end of camp, especially with Addison missing the last 3 games. But I'm excited
Mhm.
to see where that goes. It's really interesting, as you never know.
Yeah, so something that we posted out at halftime, and some of the things that Brett was seeing, talking about Lucky Jackson. We have some comments on X just talking about could not disagree more on Mr. Lucky, and as far as like him looking good, um, so I'm not exactly sure where he was coming with that. I guess if he thought maybe he didn't look as good as he has been, but he's been making plays in training camp. We did have Justin saying he was looking good. Another person that really kind of popped up that people were commenting on was Gabriel Murphy. So Gabriel Murphy, he had at least one sack in the game that, if you're going to make the team, the 53-man roster, and you're maybe on that roster bubble, those are the kind of plays that you got to make. So Gabriel Murphy, he came up big. He had at least one sack. Let me see if I can think it was just the one sack. So he had 3 tackles
Yeah, I
and
think
he had
so
one and
too.
a half sacks. He got a half sack credit on the one. So he had one and a half sacks. So Gabriel Murphy looks good. Um, I don't know if you have anything more to comment on that, but he looks like he's definitely a threat to solidify a spot for himself on this roster. And also, we almost got a Wilson sack, but I think Murphy is the one that got credit for the one.
Yeah, I would agree. He looked really quick coming off the edge. I think he's a good depth piece to have in there, as we already have a strong defensive line. I think it would be a good piece to bring in for depth. Maybe
Hmm.
I think he'll make the 53-man roster, but I think worst case scenario, I think he'd be a good spot for the practice squad. I like what I saw from Gabriel Murphy today, and I would actually really like for him to continue to contribute. I think he has the room to get better. Even I think he could be someone that towards the end of the year could even get a bigger role, say if there's an injury or something like that.
Sure. No, absolutely. And when we take a look at our next topic, and I really want to get your take on this, Sam Howell. So Sam Howell came in relief of JJ and went 11 to 13, 105 yards. And I did put this out on X. I did not have on my bingo card Sam Howell getting a rushing touchdown today, but Sam
Yeah.
Howell with a sneak into the end zone. But he drove the offense down there. He showed he was accurate today. Now that has not been the case in training camp, but at least today on the field, he was that. What do you think?
Well, I mean,
We,
yeah,
we
just like you said, I kind of like that. It's like maybe more so like he's more of a gamer. He hasn't been showing it in practice, and maybe throughout the
Mhm.
weeks he's getting more comfortable with the system. And it really looked like it because his MO, he's been a gunslinger, but he was really
Yeah.
conservative with the ball today, making the smart play. It was really against everything that you've ever seen from Sam Howell, even with back to his Washington days. He really managed the game. He made the smart play. He made the smart reads, and it's like you said, he marched us right down the field. It was like it was with ease.
Mhm.
So I'm happy with Sam Howell. I've been talking with Brett about this. I think that Sam Howell is going to be our second quarterback. I like his experience. It's just I hope he starts figuring out our system, which kind of looks like he started doing today, and I think that's going to be big because it's good to have someone with some starting experience behind a rookie quarterback.
Is it maybe that, I mean, all of our quarterbacks, at least for a period of time there, were throwing quite a few interceptions during training camp. Now, was maybe
Yeah.
just some of that because we had some of our offensive linemen that weren't starting and how much pressure our defense was getting in training camp and not giving enough time for our quarterbacks like Sam Howell to where it was pressuring him into throws he wouldn't normally make.
Yeah.
Now, that's what happens. That's why you put pressure on a quarterback. But, today he had time and he was able to show that he's able to be accurate and be effective. So, yeah, I thought he looked good today. I did. I mean, how do you criticize 11 of 13 for 105 yards and then a sneaky sneak into the end zone for a
Yeah.
touchdown? It's hard to be critical of that. But when we talk about the quarterbacks, uh, Brett Rippon went 1 for 4 for 6 yards. Max Brosmer comes in,
Yeah.
and again, undrafted. Max Brosmer, he actually, I think he uh, has one of the best seasons in Golden Gopher history for as far as yardage thrown. But he comes
Yeah.
in,
And
Q,
completion percentage too. Yeah.
yeah, and he comes in today, and Max Brosmer seemed like there seemed to be like an electricity with Brosmer when he came in.
Yeah.
And I just have some notes on here on Brosmer. That sharp throw that he made over the middle, Miles Price on that third down for 15 yards to keep the drive alive. That was
Yeah.
huge. He almost had a touchdown to Dante Fleming, which it was great placement. It was away from the cornerback on that comeback route.
Mhm.
And he was outstretched, and again, unfortunately, Dante couldn't keep it from hitting the turf. It was ruled incomplete catch, so the touchdown was called back. But then on the very next play on fourth down, fourth and goal, KOC says, "Let's go do it again," and he hits Mile Price on what wasn't his first look, not his second look, but it was his third read on a post route, and he hits
Yeah.
Miles Price in the end zone, in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. I thought that looked great. The only bad thing I could really say on what I saw Brosmer do was he fumbled a snap and fumbled the ball away once. And that could have been miscommunication
Yeah.
with because Zeke Coral got hurt there too. Now you have a new center that just probably came back into the game. I think that might have been. Uh, I'm not sure if that was Coral or Jurgens, but I think Coral went out before that. I think he got hurt before that fumble happened.
Yeah. I and Cole came out the drive before. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was Jurgens that fumbled the ball. But again, centers are a little bit different. So maybe when you're used to what the Coral's been doing, maybe that could have been what contributed to that fumbled snap. But other than that, I mean, that's the only thing I really had to be critical on Brosmer. He even took off, wasn't a first down, or was it? Was it for the one? I think yeah, I think he did run for one first down, but he took off on a couple plays where it wasn't there, and instead of making a bad throw, he took off and got you a few yards or a first down. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and it's like you said, the broadcast was even talking about it. Pete Bursich brought up multiple times, not even just on the touchdown, but the Pete Bursich was talking about how quickly he was going through his reads, and they've talked about it all camp, how smart of a quarterback he is. So I think he has all the intangibles to keep it going. So I think he is from what we saw today, and I think honestly, with how quick that KOC pulled the trigger on Ripien, I think maybe this is a closer competition for QB3 than anyone thought. I would have thought Ripien would have gotten at least one more drive. So seeing that made me think that Brosmer's been having a good camp, and then watching how he performed. That touchdown, like you said, was incredible.
Hmm.
He was getting out of the pocket, he was evading pressure, and he was even running for first downs. I really like. There's a couple of times where he stayed in the pocket, and the center was getting pushed into him, and he just stood there and finished the throw anyway. I really like it. He seems like he is like a veteran, like he's been there before. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like how Kirk Cousins always was, is he would always stand in the pocket and take the hit. He seems like that kind of guy, but he seems like he's quicker with his reads. He doesn't need the 5-step drops. He's able to go with it quick. That's what I really like about Brosmer.
Yeah, I mean, so do we keep three quarterbacks? when we start, we got to keep 6 wide receivers. There's going to be some tough cuts that need to be made. So do we
Well,
even
you're
keep
allowed to
three
keep that third
quarterbacks?
quarterback. Yeah, you're allowed to keep that third quarterback. That doesn't count as a roster spot. I don't think it counts
Okay,
towards the
great.
53-man roster. Yeah.
So before we move into the next thing, I just want to mention comments. If you guys have any questions or even your observations of what you thought of the game, anything you did or didn't like, or what you didn't see in the game, go ahead and throw in the comments on Facebook, X, or YouTube. Let Austin and I know. Or if you just have some that we can comment, debate, something that we're not touching on that you thought, man, I wish they would have talked about this, or this was somebody that really had an impact on the game. But the next thing I want to touch on is Xavier Scott now the running back three officially. Ty Chandler was not effective today, but Xavier Scott, he had 7 carries for 40 yards and looked like a man on a mission uh, to absolutely take that running back three position.
Yeah, I mean Xavier Scott looked a lot better than Ty Chandler did. Ty Chandler, it's like I was talking to Brett with last week. Ty Chandler has been the same running back that he's been the past 3 seasons. He really hasn't given us any progressions. And it was kind of a breath of fresh air to see someone else in there. And Xavier Scott actually, he was reading the holes well. He was hitting the holes hard. And not only that, he was catching the ball very well out of the backfield. I think he's a good dual threat running back. And I think you need to have some versatility in the wide receiver three position. And I think that's kind of what Chandler used to be, is he could do a ball. He's more of a pass catcher, but it's nice to see Xavier Scott able to hit the holes like he was and to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, we'll have to take a look at it in training camp a little bit more to see who's playing with, the twos and the threes here coming up. But I don't expect Aaron Jones to get any run time in the second playoff game. I really think that might be the last chance that Ty Chandler gets to really overtake Xavier Scott, because if Xavier Scott has another game like he did today, I think he's going to bump Ty Chandler off the roster. I just really think that's the next progression for that. Um, so when we watch preseason football, we know he's great on the radio, but man, this Paul Allen and Pete Burt, these guys are
Yeah.
great on TV too. They do such a great job.
Yeah.
I wish I could watch them, for Vikings games during the week. But I love the fact that he's a fan when he's on there calling the games. There's so much passion. And then he also had JJ come on for the third quarter. Um, I
Yeah.
always like I always like hearing Paul Allen, but I do think that he brought on Justin Jefferson last year during one of the games for a piece of the third quarter. I don't know if you recall, it was when JJ was actually in the game
Yeah.
versus the Raiders, I believe. And we got to hear, the commentary, and he even JJ even threw a touchdown on that play with Justin Jefferson kind of celebrating in the background. I just think it's kind of cool to hear, some of the back and forth with different players. You got to see Jonathan Grenard, kind of some comments on the sideline. I think that's just kind of a neat ad that you don't get to see during the regular season.
No, for sure. It's awesome. Paul Allen's one of the best announcers that I've seen. Like even when I've listened to games in the past, you know exactly what's happening because he's good at describing what's going on and not using very too many words either. He does a that's why he's good on TV too, is he knows when to let a moment breathe. Like he doesn't have to get too descriptive, but he knows what to say with as few words as possible to be able to let everyone know what's going on. And I think that's why he's so great. And it's like even in the third quarter, he was interacting with Justin Jefferson, and he brought on the Oakleys, and they were looking at each other.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I enjoyed that. It was fun to see the TV crew get involved with the Vikings like they did today.
Iconic personality, iconic voice.
Yeah.
Paul, you're the best. You're the best, Paul. Best in the game. Special teams. All right. So we got to see Will Reichard come out, and he kicked a couple field goals, made both of them. So I really don't think that there's much to really criticize, comment, nitpick, or anything like that. He did what he was supposed to do, which was come out and show that he can be consistent. And he did that. He got two opportunities, made them both, made all of his extra points. So nothing that I could see to really criticize on that. So if we move on to the punting battle, we didn't get to see Oscar Chapman, which I thought was a missed opportunity, and maybe that the plan is for Oscar Chapman to come kick. Um, I apologize. He did kick once, so he did have one punt for 52 yards. I apologize. Ryan Wright had two punts, and he did have one that he put inside the 20. So
Yeah.
that is something that I said, hey, I wanted to see him change from last year. Um, so I mean that was good to see. You need to be able to put it in the 20, if at least kick it out of bounds inside the 20 to where
Mhm.
it's not going out through the end zone, and they're going to take the ball out. So we got to pin them. He did do that. Um, and then Oscar Chapman had that 52 yarder. It wasn't inside the 20. So that battle's still kind of ongoing. So I apologize, Oscar Chapman. Yeah, you did get that one punt, but we'll have to kind of see where that goes. Do you have anything to comment, I guess, on what you saw today from the punting game?
Yeah, no, that putt from right and pinned inside the 20, that was really nice. And I really contribute that, like you said, last year he had a problem. He had a problem with getting the ball, keeping it inside the end zone instead of getting the touchbacks. But I think having some competition there really makes you work and cover your game up.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of what we saw there. So I'm kind of really interested to see where this goes because competition is good for both sides. I think in the end of the
Absolutely.
day, we're going to get the best punter, obviously, because KOC is not just going to keep right around just to keep right around. He's been on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see if next game maybe they do maybe a 50-50 split, or if this kind of shows that KOC has more trust in Wright. I guess we'll see as the preseason moves forward.
Absolutely. In the kick return game and the punt return game, you did get to see it. And although he got hurt, Rondale Moore did get an opportunity. He didn't do much with it.
No.
So it was just one punt. He got 2 yards off of it, but Silas Bolden, he got one punt, was only able to return it for 8 yards. So I don't think that there was a whole lot to be done there. But in the kick return game, Ty Felton did get two kick returns, and he took one for 24 yards.
Yeah.
Had a total of 36 yards total. But on the 124-yard return that Ty Felton had, he had a little bit of electricity to him, it looked like, and then got bottled up. But
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw anything there. I don't know if we could really garner a whole lot, being that we didn't get to see multiple individuals get to really get an opportunity in the kick return game, and
Yeah.
then just punt return. I mean, the punts weren't didn't give the returners really a whole lot of room to do anything with. I didn't think.
No, I agree. Bolden, I kind of wish it seemed like he was kind of dancing around too much. I wish he would have just ran hard, maybe
Hmm.
gotten a few extra yards. That's all I had to say there. I really liked what I saw from Ty Felton, though. That's one of the notes I had written down here is Ty. I liked that 24-yard run, like you said. It really looked like he might have a chance to break it, which that brings me back to like Cordell Patterson days where every time he touched the ball, it made you feel like he might house this. So it was good to see at least. I'm happy to see Ty Felton do as well as he did today on both special teams and an offense. So that was kind of my takeaway from the special teams game.
I did have some other defensive notes that I just kind of wanted to go over and talk about. So,
Yeah,
um, just little tidbits. Ambry Thomas had an interception, so that's great. But Khalif Halais, he had an errant overthrow for his first interception of two on the day that he had. But the first one was, just kind of fell right into his arms. It was an overthrow. He was
hmm
back there. But the second one, um, it was tipped. Now, two
yeah,
pieces to that. It was tipped by Tyler Batty. Great play by Tyler, knocking it down at the line up into the air. But when he did that, great play by Khalif, putting himself into position and being able to have the hand and not be stone handing it to snatch that ball out of the air for his second interception of the day. I thought that was great to see. I know Tyler Battery is another individual that we wanted to see him take a step with, and Brent's been talking about a lot about Tyler Batty, and he had a pretty solid game. I mean, with he had 3 tackles, and then he also had that tip pass as well, which was,
Yeah.
it led to an interception and a turnover. So I thought he did a great job. Um, was there anything else on defense that kind of stood out to you today, that you really saw? Bo
Yeah. I
Rector got
mean,
a half sack.
yeah. That in that first drive, I kind of would have liked to have seen Ivan Pace do a little better, stop the run game. That's kind of what I was seeing there. Is he was kind of caught flat-footed a couple of times instead of reading the hole where it was opening and meeting the running back at the line of scrimmage. But I mean, you can contribute that he's not playing with his normal guys, and it's a preseason game, so I'm not too worried about it. But that might be something to keep an eye on. But yeah, like I said, he wasn't playing with Hargraves, or because the D line helps a lot with the run game, and then also Cashman. So, but that was something I noticed though in that first drive.
Yeah, that first drive, it seemed like we were getting gashed up the middle pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, same thing with the passes as well. We weren't really stopping the pass game on that first drive, but after that, it led to a touchdown. But after that, we were pretty solid. We
Yeah.
kind of buckled down after that, and so maybe it was just getting some of those first game jitters, cleaning up the cobwebs, just like we feel like we need to do on the offensive side of the ball. And that's what I thought was, just kind of a little bit frustrating. I know we want to get out of there without injuries. I just would have liked to have seen, even though um, you know, uh, we think he did it all right. We didn't really. We should probably go back to that, but we didn't really give JJ a grade. I wish they would have done a second
Yeah.
series to really, kind of get the jitters out and everything. Maybe the second series would have been a lot more crisp, or even better, like the defense. But we should probably go back to that. What grade do you give JJ for his performance today?
I give him a B minus.
Okay.
I think he did above. I think he did above average. There wasn't
Yeah.
enough there for me to really give a the really dissect really, but I liked a few of his throws. He looked like he was doing well with the pressure that he did get, but it's like you said, he made a couple like that one completion, and then he overshot another guy. I forget who he overshot, but he didn't look completely comfortable, but he kind of looked like he was making progress towards getting better.
Right. Yeah, that was Lucky Jackson. He missed on that overthrow,
Yeah.
and we threw a poll out on X to see what grade would you give JJ McCarthy, for his 12 play drive. And so we gave the options of A, B, C, because it definitely wasn't any lower than a C. It was a
Mhm.
drive that led to a Will Reichard field goal, which he was 2 of 2 today, which that's great. But for the grade, we had 11% of individuals gave him an A, 20% gave him a C, and 69% agree with you, Austin, and gave him a B for today. Maybe not the B minus,
Mhm.
but they gave him a B
Yeah.
today. And I think that's probably fair. I would probably give him anywhere. I kind of like the C plus myself, just because
Yeah.
4 for 7. You only threw for 30 yards. He had a couple of real good passes in there, but then again, I just don't think you can keep throwing on that back foot like that. I think he just needs to step into those throws to make sure he's leading the receiver
Yeah.
rather than throwing behind. And then again, I think some of those throws, you're not going to be perfect, but he makes some of those throws. Maybe we're talking a touchdown or a closer field goal
Mhm.
for Will Reichard. So that's what I'd like to see. I like to. I don't want to give him too high of a bar and give him an A for today, because I think an A. I think you need a touchdown to earn an A. If I'm being
Yeah,
honest,
for
or
sure.
at least a long drive and being a little bit more consistent and accurate with the ball. Before we get
Mhm.
into just the last little tidbits or any other comments, I'm just going to give another shout out to one of our sponsors, and we're going to go ahead and play one of their ads from Homage.
Viking Central is sponsored by Homage. They are a clothing company that has an online store filled with items that feature your favorite sports teams, video games you used to or still play, one-liners from that movie you love to quote, and much more. They are reasonably priced, stylish, and comfortable clothing that will have you coming back for more. Use our Viking Central QR code to shop today and buy a shirt that will have your coworkers and friends reminiscing over fond memories, have a few laughs, and look good while doing it. Homage, where legendary comfort is on deck.
So using that code, that QR code, or using the code that we have in the top right with the link in the top right, that'll take you right to Homage's webpage. That'll also give you Viking Central's code and discounts, any discounts that we have through Homage for Viking Central. And that's one way that you can support us. And I don't want you to forget about That's Badass Wood Art either, because Luis at That's Badass Wood Art does a great job. His art pieces are awesome, and you get 15% off by using that code VC15. And when I talk about Homage, and I don't know about you, Austin, but even before we had the sponsorship with Homage, I love their shirts. I have four of them.
Yep.
I actually ordered a couple before we even had the sponsorship with them. But they're clean, comfortable shirts, and if you take a look at the stuff that they have in the store, they just have some good looking shirts. I love like the NFL Jam or the NBA Jam ones. If you're a Timberwolves fan, they
Mhm.
do have more teams than just Vikings. So if you have a loved one out there that might be a fan of a team that shall not be named, um, you can also still find them on that website. So they're great t-shirts. They're comfortable to wear and they fit good. So that's all I have on Homage, but. Uh, Austin, I just want to go to you as far as anything else. I know I set up some different talking points in here, but you know, is there anything that you can think of for your ending notes as far as anything we maybe missed that you wanted to bring up that you thought was something to note on the game? I know you said you took some notes, but what did I miss?
Well, you kind of brought it up earlier. It was our defense kept ball hawking like we were doing last year. They just find a way
Mhm.
to get to the ball. It's like you said, even after tipping passes, they were still making plays. And then, did we finish the game with 3.5 sacks? Did I have that right as a team? Yeah, I I think that was big. We were getting to the quarterback. We were making plays, and I think
Sure.
that's what Brian Flores likes in his defenses. Oh, it was 2 sacks. Okay, I thought it was three and a
Yeah.
half. My bad.
Uh,
But yeah,
yeah,
I
Murphy
think.
and Richter split one.
Oh, that was my
Yeah,
mistake then. Okay, yeah, I miscalculated that. So I think that's the big thing is our defense is still making plays. I think that's going to be big moving forward, especially with the rookie quarterback going in there. We can't expect JJ McCarthy to play well in the first couple of games. Like that's unrealistic. He's going to have some growing pains. So if
sure.
our defense can just keep us in games in the first couple of weeks, it's gonna be huge. And I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean you mentioned it, being ball hockey. We did it. We did it all through training camp. It carried over into this preseason game. We
Mhm.
came away with not only the two sacks, but we also came away with three takeaways with interceptions. So hopefully we keep that going. And I really want to see because usually you get some of that feistiness when we get into those joint practices that we've had in the past, and we get a lot more reps with starters
Mhm.
ones between our ones and their ones. So I'm excited to see what we do when the Patriots come to down in the practices. And at least when we talk about the starters, we're going to get a lot more, I think, out of uh, the joint practices than we will the preseason game against the
Yeah.
Patriots. But I'm looking forward to the preseason game. But I really want to see what we do in the joint practices and kind of see the matchups as far as our ones versus their ones, and are we getting to Drake May? And, is our defense still ball hawking uh, on the ones? Because I want to see the starters. We had a lot of starters that we sat today. No
Mhm.
surprise really on them, but I want to see our ones out there to see, if it's the same kind of impact that we've been seeing in training camp against our own team. I don't know if I lost you there, Austin. Oh, there you are. So I mean, that's kind of
Yeah,
what I
for
want to
sure. It's
see.
like you were saying. I think the joint practices are going to be. I'm excited to see how we look with Mike Vrabel's defense. I think JJ McCarthy is going to see a lot of good looks. I think he's going to see a lot of different sets, and I think it's going to do him a lot of good to see a different defense than our own. So I'm really excited to how this next week's going to come about, and I think it's going to be big in the developmental process for JJ McCarthy.
Absolutely. I do want to make sure that I give it another shout out just because I'm going to be starting this new fantasy football show, uh, Fantasy 15. So we're going to break down top 15 charts. So you'll see Brett on there, maybe Austin, and we'll also have some other guests that come on the show. But we're going to break down top 15 chart for every position to make sure that you make your fantasy football playoffs in week 15. And again, all in 15 minutes. And then we're going to move into our overtime portion with any guests that we have on our show and answer anything that you may have put in our mailbag as far as start and sit situations with your team and maybe any trade scenarios that you may have got throughout the week. So if you're on X, make sure that you follow us. We'll have more socials in the future, but we will be streaming over the Vikings Central Network for the fantasy football show that will begin Fantasy 15, August 20th. The time's yet to be set because I'm working with a guest appearance on that one. That'll be announced once we have the date and time all locked in place. But for the most part, we're planning on August 20th, regardless, and the time will come out later. Anything else that you want to add before we go, Austin?
No, I think we got it. I'm just excited to see that fantasy show, though. It's going to be exciting. I'm doing my first guillotine league this year, so I'm definitely going to be looking for you for some help there for sure.
How many leagues are you in, Austin?
I have 2 regular leagues. I have my guillotine. I'm in a dynasty league too.
Okay. So myself too. I'm in a dynasty,
How many are you? How
and
many
I'm
do you
in
got?
a PPR. So I'm only in two right now, but I want to start a third one. So if we get enough people that are interested, and again, follow us at Fantasy 15 Football FB on X. Send us a message on that X page if you'd like to be in that fantasy football league. It's going to be one that will also premiere on the show, but it's just a additional friendly fantasy football league that we're going to put together if we get enough people to put it together before the season starts. I'd like to do that. So we're looking for dedicated individuals that like to have fun, but also love to do fantasy football, set their lineups. So I'll be taking requests through messages. So just go ahead, send me a message, and we'll go from there. We'll communicate and maybe set up a league as well. But other than that, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in for Viking Central. I'm Steve. We got Austin with us today. Thanks again for joining the show, Austin, adding your input and opinion. Join us next time for Viking Central when we'll probably be covering a lot of what happened not only in week 2, but what's happening in week 3. And then we'll start previewing what we're kind of seeing or wanting to see next week as it gets a little bit closer to the Patriots joint practice when they come to town. And then also the pregame next weekend when we host the Patriots for the preseason game. We'll do the same thing where we'll have a preseason show, or sorry, a pregame show, and then also a postgame show. We want to try to bring that to you for every game this year. So go ahead, add your comments before games. Let us know what kind of questions you want us to ask or cover. I appreciate all the feedback. We saw a lot of comments today during the game. For Viking Central, I'm Steve. He's Austin. We thank you, Skull Vikes. We got that dub. Have a good one. Thanks, guys. Till next time.